We put a lot of our lives into these instruments. A typical organ will be 6 months or a year of my life, sometimes more if it's a large instrument. It's something that, if we're lucky, will survive after us. I have a real shot at people having a visceral interaction with my work hundreds of years from now. I mean, there aren't many people that I know of who build things anymore in America.
I'd call myself spiritual rather than religious, and this work is like worship for me. I rarely go to church, except when I'm working in one. But I know that there's more to this than just putting parts together. And the musical expression in the end, and the way that affects people's lives and their worship, is also a really special thing to be involved in.
We want to just stay ahead of the wet glue so that we get one smooth glue joint the whole length of the rib.
Okay.
Charlie was born in 1925. He grew up in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and summered with his family here on Cape Ann. As a teenager, he was especially interested in two things. One was taking things apart and putting them back together, and the other was music, classical music. After high school, he was accepted into Harvard as a prodigy in physics, but World War II intervened.
He was drafted into the Army, but was selected from his group to work on the Manhattan Project. And he worked first in Chicago and then in Los Alamos, and was a member of a detonation team headed by Oppenheimer. They would meet as a group and they would exchange ideas, and all members of the group were treated as equals.
I never trusted my own self to be a physicist and not get involved in something which ultimately would blow somebody up or make life miserable somehow.
After the war, Charlie finally attended Harvard, where he studied physics, and he courted his first wife. In a letter to her, he revealed his anguish over his work on the atomic bomb.
Dearest Anne, consider, in the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, about 150,000 people were killed. Since there were some 50,000 people involved in the Manhattan Project, including the people who dropped the bomb, if we distribute equally the responsibility for these deaths, then each of us is responsible for the deaths of 3 Japanese. It's something I'd rather not face, but like everything, it must be faced if one is to maintain his own ethical equilibrium.
After Harvard, he worked at the Brookhaven Labs on Long Island as a nuclear physicist, and then went on to Stanford for a doctorate. There, to his parents' dismay, he turned from what he had come to think of as the physics of destruction to his first love, music. He concentrated his studies in the organ, but discovered he was better suited to building than to performing. After an apprenticeship with John Swinford and then another with Walter Holtkamp, He opened his own shop in Gloucester in 1961. It was here that he created the strong collaborative environment that has become his legacy.